Good afternoon, Australia and New Zealand. I have with me two people that I think are very important if you want to get more listings and make more sales, but you're finding that time to make those calls is an issue. And I'm not talking about cold prospecting calls. I'm talking about nurture calls in your pipeline. And you need to remember this, everyone. Every minute that you're not on the phone giving a just listed, just sold, here's some new information for you, anniversary call, anything. Every moment that you're not talking to them, there's a very good chance your competitors, the people that you not only don't like, often you hate, are talking to your client in your CRM system. That's right. You've actually done the hard work and actually got them in there. Jai Reid, an extraordinary real estate agent I've been working with over the last 3 months from O'Brien's, who has entered the $1 Million Club. I referred him on to Meson agency, not personally, but he saw the work I was doing with Meson, and he reached out. And I've got with me John Angelopoulos, the founder of Meson agency, who I consider are arguably the number one phone nurturing company in Australia, and for the simple reason that he was a real estate agent that listed and sold real estate, so understands exactly what the conversations are like. So good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you going?
Really good.
Yeah, thanks, Tommy. Thanks for that.
I love a case study. Why? Because stories sell, facts tell, and we can tell a really good story case study here. John, firstly, I want to ask you, how long have you been working with Jai Reid from O'Brien's?
Not a huge amount of time, about a month to 6 weeks. Is that right, Jai?
Yep, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Okay. So and Jai, can I ask you, what inspired you to reach out to Meson? What were you looking for them to do for you?
The actual trigger was we had a new agent join the company who brought 14,000 bits of data, and then it was actually a conversation I had, Tom, and said, well, how are we going to get through 14,000? Did the numbers, and it wasn't going to be possible for us to do it with the guys that, even they're making 100 calls a day, it wasn't going to be possible to do it in an amount of time. John and I met at an ARIC a few years ago, and I pitched it to my business partner at the time. He goes, getting people to make phone calls, that's what you guys should be doing. And that was the initial resistance I got. But when I did the numbers in my head, I said, hang on, I've got my data set that I work with, who are the top 500,000 contacts that I work closely with. And the other people, the open callbacks, amazing data there, the past appraisals wasn't going to get moved. So Tom, you put me in touch with John, and they've done amazing work with those bits of data, and they spit us out the gold in the dirt, really.
Okay, so essentially what you're saying is it was the typical case of the fat database that was overwhelming to moving it and shift it to the fit database. And for you to actually to be able to do that and still go to listing presentations, manage your team, buyer management, vendor management, all that stuff, particularly in Melbourne right now. You got a vendor manager now in Melbourne. Fear of missing out has totally gone out of that marketplace, right? So you've got to actually be hell-bent so close to that buyer and seller to putting the deal together. But you knew to do all of that and still clean and nurture your database, you needed to get outside support. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. And there's nothing better than walking out of an hour-long listing presentation, pulling up the Meson app, and you've got 6 clients that want a market appraisal from your database you haven't spoken to in a while. And you can just pick up and call those 6 people and book your next 6 or next 3 days of market appraisals whilst you're in a listing presentation at the same time. So, it's 1 + 1 = 3. It's been great.
Okay. So, John, can I ask you, and I know that we've titled this webinar, Who to Call, What to Say. I'd love to hand over to you to get you to tell me the sort of work that Meson is doing for both O'Brien's and what you're doing for the greater audience now in Sydney and Melbourne. You've got some of the greatest real estate businesses across the country, even some of the competitors to O'Brien's. You've got Gillis Craig, Marshall White, you've got people in Whites, you got independents. So I'm going to hand over to you. And I know that you have got some slides that you're probably going to share as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost, to address that point, and then I can share the slides. I mean, Jai is a great example as well, because even though it's only been about, let's say, a month, we've done a whole variety of different campaigns, and that's probably where we're best used. Maybe going through a big database, validating and trying to find opportunities is a good use case for us, and that's, I think, what we started with doing. But where we're best used as well is because obviously we're still somewhat a nimble team. We're not some massive conglomerate. Jai's asked us, hey, I've just listed this property, I've just sold this property. Can you help us with just listed calls? Can you help us with calls around results? Or I think at one point it was even buyer feedback calls as well. Like, you can use us as you need. So we can build up big campaigns, like going through a massive database, trying to validate it, trying to find opportunities, or trying to get rid of them if they're not accurate. And at the same time, you can use us for more low-level stuff. For you're getting too busy to be able to do your simple ABCs. Use us to help alleviate that stress for a little bit. And then when you're a little bit quieter and you can get on top of that yourself, we can go into the background and start doing some colder stuff, some database management, some pipeline nurturing stuff that you're not going to be doing anyway.
So essentially what you're saying is a lot of the work you're doing now is it's a project this or campaign this, right?
That's right.
And I want to make it very, very clear to everyone that's watching this. Don't think for a moment that Tom Panos and the Real Estate Gym are saying to you, you do not need a chase list. You should not be calling your next 10, 20, 30 sellers, that you shouldn't be actually yourself having conversations with your connectors, influencers. What we're simply talking about here is having something that complements you as an extra layer. This works in combination, not in isolation. We have two things going. We have the VIP important calls, voice to voice coming from you, the agent. But what we're talking about is the extra. What we're talking about is the additional. What we're talking about is complementing, not substituting. We've got to be very, very clear. Now, John, is there anything you want to say? Is there any slides you want to go through here to make it easy for our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, I think the big one, I'm just going to share my screen, is about the full screen, is about the database leakage. So while we, I just wanted to obviously address that. Yeah, we can do sort of anything that you need us to. And like you said, we're not there to replace, we're there to assist. We get busier in these times because if you're a good agent and you're listing and you're selling and you're doing what Jai's doing, you don't have time to do the things that you should be doing anyway, or less opportunity to. So you don't want to sacrifice your next 3 months because these 3 months are sensational for you. You want to make sure that you've got a consistent opportunity.
Yeah, and I was saying it to Ethan, one of the clients I coach. Ethan was saying to me, mate, you realize now stock levels are through the roof. We're talking about real estate people have got 40, 50 listings when they've been traveling with 10 to 15. Think about the amount of vendor management. Think about the amount of buyer work. Think about the amount of deal making, pest inspections, building inspections. And then in addition to that, we got to keep making sure that your pipeline is staying healthy. So this first slide here, your next listing is likely already in your database. Team, do you understand? This is like you having a management and another office coming and taking that management off you and selling it. It was already yours, but you weren't doing the right work. And what we're saying here is a very good chance the agent that you hate in your area that's in the same street, that's got that listing they've launched on realestate.com, was already in your CRM system, but because of your fat, overweight CRM system that had a combination of people that were both alive and dead, weak and strong, qualified and unqualified, meant it was just so messy, you never really had a conversation with that person. So that's what you mean by that, I presume, John.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And, especially when you're getting to the sizes of where you have, quote unquote, 10, 20, 30,000 people in the database, supposedly everyone in the area, it's a very unique industry where your next opportunity, you already know, are already in your database, or at least in the catchment area. It's such a unique industry.
Okay. Someone else is getting opportunities, yeah? Speaking to your entire database once a quarter is a bare minimum. So we're talking about once your database gets to a certain level, You've got to be talking to them 4 times a year, even if the phone call, John, and I've got to tell you, often the call can be as simple, and I'm going to be interested to see what some of the dialogue and phrases that you use in your business. But I can just see a lot of clients just needing this simple phone call. Hi, it's Tom Panos here from Jai Reed's team at O'Brien. Jai has asked me to personally call you to see is there any help he can give you at this time. It might be as simple as that, right? What do you do, John? Any comments on the kind of call, what to say?
That's a really good one. And again, that keeps it simple, open, especially acknowledging if there's previous notes. So Jai asked me to give you a call, and let's say he previously left a note saying not interested in doing anything for 3 years. He mentioned obviously you weren't planning on doing something for the next couple of years, but he thought nonetheless we'd touch base and see if there's anything we can assist you with right now. So at least it doesn't look too random. We're acknowledging that you already told Jai it's not going to happen for another couple of years, but we're still trying, we're still shooting our shot. That way you don't look silly like, no, I already told him I'm not thinking of selling for 3 years. No, we know he told us that. We acknowledge that you're not thinking of selling for 3 years, but nonetheless, we wanted to touch base and see if there's anything. Would you like to be kept up to date with some results in the area? Have you seen what's happened in the market recently? And the conversation, obviously, we go from there. The other one, when we're talking massive databases, something like this, is the validation script, where generally we say something like, and of course, the way that we introduce ourselves, we can be from a concierge team, we can be from Jai's team, we can be from the head office, whatever you want us to be, from Jai's assistant. But oftentimes when we're doing validation, we try and do sometimes even the concierge team. So we might say, hey, and we haven't done this for Jai, but we could be, hi, we're calling from the concierge team at O'Brien's. Wanted to make sure that we're keeping people up to date with as relevant information moving forward. We currently have your listed living at 123 Smith Street. Is this still accurate? And would you like to be kept up to date with other results around that corner, around that area? And so from there, that conversation might go, no, I don't live there anymore. Okay, cool. We can find out where they live next. Yeah, I still live there, but I don't want any information. Oh, is there any reason in particular? And we're starting to validate, but also trim down that database. There might be people that do live in the area, but their best friend is your competitor and they'll never ever speak to you again. Doesn't mean delete them out of your database, but you probably know that's not someone that you need to actively market towards.
Okay, beautiful, beautiful. What do you got here? Data is gold. If your database is just your first name and mobile, you have a list, not a database. So, John, can I ask you, to you databasing in terms of high probability data, qualified data, is it name, address, mobile, email? Would that be the complete list?
No, mobile, email, address, or buying criteria as well. And I think I have it later on. One point, an address or buying criteria, 2 to 3 relevant tags, and a detailed note on every interaction. Now, if you're starting from scratch, the next thing that you need to get is that information. So if it is name and mobile number now, you have a list, you want to get it to database, you want to find down the bottom here, as you can see, you want to find address or buying criteria, because someone in your database should either live there, therefore potentially be a homeowner or invest there or own a property there, or be looking to live there, and therefore they've got to have buying criteria. Detailed note on every interaction. So that note that your call shouldn't just be spoken, not interested. It should be a detailed note of that conversation. And then 2 to 3 relevant tags we find makes it easier to filter down the line later on. Homeowner, buyer, house, property type, that sort of stuff. If you can add at least 2 to 3 relevant tags, when you're going back over that database later on, you're trying to filter down your database to a smaller size for whatever reason, to target them, to prospect towards them. The more tags you do when you're filtering through, when you're validating through, the better it's going to be when you're wanting to go back over that later on.
Sorry, John, can you hear me?
Yeah. Did I freeze?
Sorry, it froze for a moment, but I'm back. Keep going.
Yeah. So I think, sorry, I was going to say with this, where is it? I've lost my train of thought. Sorry.
So I'll never forget when I interviewed Marcus Chiminello, who's actually in Melbourne as well. I'll never forget it, where he actually said, a lot of people turn around and they really think to themselves, they need to have these thousands and thousands of people in a database. What you really want is quality over quantity, right? And and I got to tell you, there is no, like, I would have loved there to have been this magic bullet that can just go, fat, shoot the gun.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, it became fat for a particular reason, and for it to become fit, it's going to need to work out. And work out means that that you've got to be doing, like, and we call, like, I always talk about it, John and Jay, I always talk about why do we call people? We call people for three reasons. We call people because we're trying to get an appointment. We sometimes call people because it's a touch point. Frequency builds trust. Touch point. And we also call people to clean the database, to qualify, to find out who's who in the zoo. And this is what we're talking about there. You've got further here, John. Completed record should include at least one action point, an address or buying criteria, 2 to 3 relevant tags, detailed note on every interaction.
Yep, that's right.
Keep going.
Yeah, hang on. I need to share my screen to a different one for a second, which will have the best campaigns to launch right now. So these are the ones that we're finding in Q3 are the most effective. So if you give me a second, I'll swap over to that. Sorry.
Well, in that, John, you've recently done all of our appraisals. You've gone through a lot of those, and that's been getting us appointments every single day, rebooking appraisals.
What appraisals, Joe? What appraisals are they? These are past appraisals that you've gone into?
So I think John started from about 2017 to now, and had the team just rescheduling us to go back and do price updates on old appraisals, and there's been listings in gold come out of that. There we go. There's his first one.
That's the most effective campaign right now. Now, it's one of the most effective year on year. This is the most recent, Q3 up until I put this together last week. So almost all of Q3. These are the most effective campaigns that we're finding. Now, effective, obviously, depending on what your objective can be different. Some people just want to validate data. Some people, like the fifth one, build a database where you're not going to get as many immediate opportunities, but you're going to get heaps of people hopefully added into your database. But realistically, the ones that we're finding are getting the best leads, the best results, are your past appraisals, your just listed orphan calls. And if you have access to it, the one thing we always say to people, as soon as an agent leaves your office, whether it's us, your team, someone, call every single person on their database in that next week, because you know that they're probably going across the street to your competitor and taking your database with them. And even if you think you've blocked them or whatever, especially if they're planning to leave for a while, they've jotted it down, they're going to start attacking people in your database. So we've found those 3 campaigns in the past quarter have been the most effective. And obviously the other 5 as well.
By the way, as people are listening on here, if you're a principal of an office and you want to actually add a lot of value to the people in your business, I suggest that you reach out to Meson Agency. I'll just do this in case anyone drops off. John, how do they get on a hold of Meson?
They can jump on our website, mesonagency.com.au, or they can email us at info@mesonagency.com.au.
Okay, keep going. I'll keep going. Keep going. What have you got next to show, John?
They're mainly the whole slides. So that's what I thought I'd show.
Okay, I'll stop sharing for a moment. I'm particularly interested in that orphan data phone call, because orphan data, for those of you that haven't heard the word, an orphan, well, we know an orphan means you don't have a mum or dad, right? Mum and dad. You don't have parents. Let's just say that. You don't have parents. In real estate, what it means is that at one point you had an agent that you had a relationship with at that office. That real estate agent is no longer in that office, maybe not in real estate or maybe to another office. Orphan data is basically saying this person has dealt with O'Brien's in the past. They don't have an agent attached to them. And it's a very good phone call to be making. Hi. Well, I'd love to know, what's that orphan phone call sound like, John? I mean, you're there in the office every day. What's it sound like?
So if it's orphan, like that one where someone's just left, the script will be something like, hey, let's just make up a name. Hey, this is John calling from O'Brien's. Tom, who you were dealing with at our office, has just recently left. We just wanted to make sure you're being serviced to the best of our abilities. So we'd love to know what your plans are over the next couple of months so we can pass you on to a relevant agent and obviously update any information that we need to. And so then that conversation would turn into, yeah, he was talking to me about potentially helping me buy something over the next couple of months. Oh, awesome, great. Well, would love to pass you on to Jai. If I can get a bit more information as to what you're looking for, I could get him to pass on any other listings that might be suitable for you. Or, yeah, we're talking about potentially doing something with my home. Oh, awesome, no problem at all. Well, look, just because obviously your relationship was with Tom, and we don't have the best information right now from when he's passed. We'd love Jai to come past and give you an updated appraisal, an updated opinion on what he thinks your property could be worth. And that way, at least we can start the process again from our end properly.
Okay, John, can I ask you, so if someone's sitting here and they're watching this, right, and they're thinking to themselves, I get all of this, I want to take the next step in doing it, but I'm paranoid. I'm going to spend this money. I'm not going to get a return of investment. How do you let your clients, i.e., Jai or anyone else, understand how the success of the campaign is going?
So there's a few different ways. Obviously, it's communication. We obviously have that line of communication with everyone as well. We have a general manager in-house. We've got quality assurance managers, and we have our client success manager. But this is how our clients can see things from a visual perspective. Now, they'll get a notification at the end of every call day with sort of a summary of what they need to do. But this is our dashboard that allows them to see everything that we do for them all in one place. And this is the app that Jai was talking about earlier, where
this is brilliant. This is brilliant, Tom.
Pardon?
Okay.
This is brilliant.
Yeah. So
tell me what you like, Jai. Tell me what you like about it. I mean, I can tell there's a great saying: "What you measure, you manage." I love the transparency in this that you're seeing. Is this real-time data, right? Can someone just log in and whatever's there is there at that moment based on the last phone call that's been made?
That's right. You would literally just need to update, like refresh the app if you wanted to see the exact second, but it is to the second. That's right. And this one's obviously sample.
What it does for me, Tom, is we obviously give large sets of data, but at every day, that's the list I call at the end of every day. So John sends it to me, automated at 4:30 every day, a summarized list of who wants to do something in real estate. That list from yesterday has 12 names on there that I'm calling 12 people that are in real estate mode. So no, this makes that list for us every day, and it narrows the focus, which is brilliant.
So he's able to see, what he was talking about is obviously his actionable items, his noteworthies here. He's able to see all these different statuses. He might go appraisal sellers, be able to click on an appraisal, see the note, change his internal, if he uses it this way, but change his internal lead status there. He's also able to see any of the ones that are hot. And the hot ones are, for us, appraisal seller, or any other sort of warm leads that needed his attention straight away. So that's why there's a discrepancy between noteworthies and hot leads. We don't try and pretend that every lead is hot, because they're not. We'd rather say, hey, here's a bunch of people that need your attention, like Jai said, but here's the ones that really need you to jump onto them straight away. And of course, if ever someone goes, get Jai to call me right this second because I want to list my home, right now I've got agents walking through my door. While we don't have an automated process for it, my general manager will jump on the phone and give Joe a quick call or a text and let him know. We're not going to wait till the automated thing. How you track, though, I mean, first and foremost, you can also see your call days, so both upcoming and past, and see how we performed on that specific day. So you can click on that day, see that your caller was John, see the campaign, which is obviously a fake campaign here. You see the specific stats for that campaign, or that day, should I say. And then, of course, the leads again that came out of the day that we called for you there. You're also able to see your campaign. So this is what you're talking about how can we see what's most effective, what's not. This is where you see every different type of data campaign that we're going to be running for you. And data campaign just means a different segment of data. So Jai might have his, database validation campaign. Then every time he might have a just listed, just sold, we'll break them down into these different campaigns. Now, what's just new, because this is our new version of the app, is that if you're from a manager level, so with Jai, for example, he's got, is it 4 or 5 team members that use us as well, Jai? Four team members?
Five guys doing, which is important because they need visibility on their data as well.
Yeah, so he's able to invite a team member, and he's able to add them to this campaign. So it could be, a different team member that he adds. They're now only able to see the stats specific to that campaign. They wouldn't even see anything to do with billing. That's more from a manager's perspective, so he knows how much to, potentially on charge his staff or whatever it may be. It's just depending obviously how you want to operate your business. But they're then only going to see the stats specific to that campaign and their leads. Whereas Jai as an admin or you as a manager or whatever can see everything to do with the business. And then
Okay,
the final,
got it.
yeah.
Understand. Yeah, keep going. And the final, you were
Yeah, I was
say
going to say
something?
the final thing is what we also do from a transparency perspective is provide our call logs. So every single call that we've ever done is going to be shown on this dashboard. So you can download it into a CSV. This will show you, as an example here, even the no answers, disconnected numbers, dead numbers, any call that we've done, you'll have your call log presented here for you. Obviously on the sample one, we only put a handful of calls through, but it will show you every single call that we've ever made for you.
Okay, stop sharing for a moment, John, so we can bring you both back in as full screen and see you. The thing that I've been most fascinated about, John, was I knew the fact that you'd been working in real estate for many years in Melbourne. You'd have a very good understanding, and it was different to the kind of phone call that I received from a core where I get all these sorts of phones. I've had 2 already from power bill companies today. And I actually was very concerned before I actually began a relationship with you, because I didn't want to be known as, I was going to say the Manila call center. Ironically, I'm in Manila as we speak, but I'm not in Manila for calls, right? I'm here for another reason. But I came into your office in South Yarra, and I had a look at the people there. And I mean, they were dressed casual, but they were the kind of voices our buyers and sellers hear every day. These are local people. Mostly appear to be like university students. Would that be fair to say?
Mostly, we did go down the path originally of like mums and dads and all that, and it wasn't that it wasn't effective, but when I felt like when it sounded like you're speaking to the agent, they ask you more questions. When it sounds like you're speaking to the assistant, someone younger, they answer the questions, but then they're okay with you palming it off to the agent after that. It actually allows us to go, let's say someone asks a lot more questions about a property. Oh yeah, tell me a bit more. It gets to the point where we don't want to answer the questions anymore. We shouldn't. Look, it sounds like it's something you might be interested in. I'd love to get Jai to give you a quick call and run through it. Was that just out of curiosity or because you were comparing it to your own property? So we can turn that into a qualification. But yeah, long story short, university students majority.
Okay, Tanjan Hussain has actually asked a question. What do you offer for new agents without any database? And that to me would be a very cold call. I'm not even sure. Do you do any work for those kind of people, or it's not your kind of business, John?
No, we can do that as well. So we can. The one limitation is where we're getting the data, right? Obviously, there's a lot of data providers out there. We've got relationships with some, so we can source databases. We can help you build them. We don't personally store any data, so we can't use our database and share it, but we can work together to build the database, which would be step 1. Step 2 would be, and that was number 5, the most effective, which is cold database development. We're trying to identify leads, but realistically, what we're also trying to do is see how many of these people from the cold database are happy to be opted into your marketing and therefore built into your, you're trying to build a database, not trying to get leads. You're trying to see, if I've got no database, the number 1 objective should be how many of these 1,000 people, for example, are happy to be in my database so I can continue following up with them, and therefore they become a warm lead from there. So in short, we can build a database. Yeah.
All righty. Jai, thank you again for your presence, your attendance. It's an absolute pleasure having a relationship with a guy that is having a serious crack at work and life. Married guy, young family. I was on the phone talking to him last night. I can hear the 3-year-old crying at around 8 o'clock at night. You're in the double shift brigade. Double shift brigade is people that do 2 shifts. They do a shift at work with buyers and sellers, and then they go home, and when the door opens, they do their second shift of work. And that's why I say, whenever you're getting a little bit overwhelmed, don't ask how, ask who. I'm going to repeat that again. Who, not how. Who can help me achieve this? Not how can I actually get this done. It can get overwhelming if you think to yourself, how am I going to clean this database? How am I going to stay in contact with these people? It's who, and the who is very clearly, I'm aligned to Meson. Susan's been kind enough to actually put in the chat box Meson Agency's URL /Tom Panos. And I just want to make sure that we've answered all those questions. We have. Thank you so much, gentlemen. And please remember, everyone, I can't express the importance of September, October, and November, apart from the fact that there's a lot of deals being done at the moment because of the high volume. It also pretty much sets up the next 6 months, because whoever sells September, October, November gets the appraisals in December for the listings that launch in February. So we have just begun our Olympic Games, real estate agents in Australia. We're in our Olympic Games period. So thank you so much. And to our wonderful audience on social media, is in the thousands there, I noticed. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that live, and to all those that joined on Zoom, thank you so much.
Thanks, Tommy.